Hello, GED students. Let's take a look at a couple of examples that may not look like they're related, but they sure are. So first example, looks like we have just straight equation here. Solve 5t over t minus 3 is equal to 7 over 2. Look what I want to point out to you. This 5t over t minus 3 might be a little ugly, but it's just one fraction over there on the left-hand side. It's a ratio. And we see that that ratio is equivalent or equal to another ratio, another fraction. And we learned that equal relationships or equal fractions are what's known as proportions. And we had that lovely fact that we proved to ourselves, or that pattern that we noticed, which is that cross products are equivalent. When you find a pattern that sticks in math class, you're allowed to apply it whenever you want. It's a truth. And so we are going to use that fact here to make our lives a little easier, and we are going to cross multiply. So 5t times 2, what is that? Well, 2 times 5 is 10. Stick a t on its backside. We should stay consistent and use black, you guys, for a new equivalent equation. So 10t. And that's going to be equal to our other cross product. Now be careful with our other cross product because it's 7 times a grouping. That's 7 times t minus 3. There's 2 terms there, which means we are going to have to distribute. So I think I'll write it down before I do it. So I'm doing 7 times the group, the whole t minus 3. And now I will take the time to do the distribution on paper instead of in my head, so I make less work. I guess this is not paper, on my tablet. So 7 times t is 7t. And 7 times negative 3, I read that as a negative when I multiply, is negative or minus 21. Now on the left-hand side, there's no simplifying to do, so I still have 10t. Lovely. Now, examining the left and the right-hand sides here separately, you can see that there's no more work to do. I can't simplify 10t, and I can't simplify 7t minus 21. They're not like terms. So now it's time to start moving back and forth across the equal sign in order to figure out what t is equal to. But I do have an issue. Do you see it? T on the left of the equal sign, t on the right of the equal sign. Before I start moving the numbers away, let's get all the t terms together. So I think I'll move the 7t to the left by subtracting it away. And again, don't get distracted by the minus sign that's in front of the 21. The 7t itself is positive, so if I wanted to get it to zero out, I have to take it away. I have to minus 7t. Now, why am I doing that? So that I can get that t term over to that left-hand side. Moving across that equal sign is when we use opposites on both sides. And now let's see what happens. 10t minus 7t is 3t. And that's going to be equal to, well, if I have 17, I take away 7t, that's 0. There's nothing there. However, it's nothing minus 21, or just negative 21. And now I'm almost done. T is almost alone, but I need to do the opposite of multiplying by 3, which is dividing by 3. And of course, I can only be disobedient when I do it to both sides to keep my balance. Multiplying by 3 and dividing by 3 are opposites. They cancel. T's alone, just like I wanted. And negative 21 divided by 3 is negative 7. So you can see we're putting together that proportion skill of cross multiplying with our more complex solving multi-step equation skills. And you guys can handle it. You're my experienced students. And also, you can handle word problems. Let's take a look. When making fry bread, Nia uses about 3.5 cups of flour for every 4 people. If she is expecting 14 for dinner tonight, how many cups of flour should she use? Okay, so what I want to point out to you here is the fact that it might be in word problem form, but we still have equal relationships between numbers. We have equal ratios. Let me show you what I mean. First thing I see here is when making fry bread, Nia uses 3.5 cups of flour for every 4 people. That's a relationship between flour and people. We're saying, oh, for every 3.5 cups flour, we're going to feed 4 people. Now, that's just one relationship, but if I have this flour to people relationship again, that's a great signal that this is a proportion. And that is what we see. Take a look at the next sentence. If she is expecting 14 for dinner tonight, 14 what? Well, 14 people. There's a repeat of that people unit. And then look at the question. How many cups of flour? We have a repeat of the flour to people relationship. And that means that we can set up a proportion. Literally, boom. We can say that relationship has got to be equal to that relationship. So let's do it. 3.5 cups of flour to 4 people is going to be equivalent or equal to the relationship of, I don't know how much flour, that's what I'm looking for, to 14 people. And that'll make sure that I have the same proportions as the recipe. All right, and now it is just a proportion example with the fraction equal to fraction. So now I can utilize that pattern that we noticed and find cross products. So 4 times x is 4x, and that's going to be equivalent or equal to 3.5 times 14. You can do it in your calculator with mixed numbers, but I know 3.5 is the same as 3.5, and that's easier to type into my calculator, and I'm lazy, so I'm going to do that. 3.5 times 14. And of course, you'll get the same answer if you do it by doing 3.5 times 14, you guys. And I get 49. And now I'm almost done, but I need to get x alone here. So I have a 4 multiplying, so I will do the opposite. I will divide it away. I'm being disobedient, so I will do it to both sides. Multiplying and dividing by 4, opposites they cancel. X alone, just like I wanted. And 49 divided by 4 is 12.25 cups. Although honestly, since there's a fraction in the problem, the final answers would probably be in fraction form in the multiple choice. Now, I see 12.25. Think about it like money. That's the same as like $12 and 1/4. So a lot of times students can do 0.25, 0.75. They can do that decimal into fraction in their head because they're used to using quarters in the real life. But if you're not able to do that, you can always use that conversion button that we have that does decimals to fractions. But then you're going to have to convert this sucker twice, you guys. You're going to have to convert it to a fraction and then to a mixed number. Or just convert the 0.25 itself. And so I think knowing that 0.25 is the same as 1/4 really helps you out here, so you don't have to do such serious gymnastics with the calculator. So that's just a nice thing to know. You guys are my experience level students. I expect you to be able to know these things by now. 0.25, just like 25 cents is 1/4, is 1/4. 0.5, these are the 3 most common decimals, and so they're nice to know. 0.5, it's like halfway through our digits. That's the same as 1/2. Like 50 cents is $0.50. And 0.75, just like 75 cents is 3/4. That's 3/4. All right, nice to know, super handy. Allows you to convert quickly back and forth between common fractions and decimals. All right, you guys, super proud of you. Strong work. Happy learning.